You are tuned in to the Foxcast Podcast, the one and only podcast devoted strictly to Ford-powered fox bodies. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Foxcast Podcast. And as usual, we've got another awesome guest on tap for you today. Mike Galimi is joining us on this episode. Mike is the editor of Race Pages magazine, which is basically the publication for the NMRA, National Mustang Racers Association, and formerly of Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords for several years, and a huge contributor to many different drag racing for different publications. So great guy, a lot of knowledge, owns 2 fox bodies, and we could not be happier to have him on. So Mike, welcome to the show.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Very well, very well. Again, really appreciate you coming on, and it's a great opportunity to let other people hear about your experiences and stuff that you've seen and races you've been to and all that sort of stuff. So again, it's a privilege and an honor, and glad to have you on.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Thanks.
So, Mike, just give us kind of a quick bio on you. Your time in the industry, how you got into it, and we'll just kind of rock and roll from there.
Okay, well, I started rather different than most. I actually went from just being a Mustang guy to actually working on the magazine side through a friend of mine, Dr. Jamie Meyer, who had been working at 5.0 as a freelancer, and he had known James Lawrence and Steve Wolcott from 5.0 when they worked there, that they were going to form NMRA and have this new magazine. And so Jamie said, hey, these guys are starting a new magazine. Do you want to contribute some stuff? They're looking for people. And I said, sure, why not? It was like just a fun time to, do some stuff, after hours from work. I'd worked on Wall Street at the time, and it just kind of grew from there.
That's awesome. Now you got to tell me, how do you go from Wall Street to to the Mustang magazine?
It evolved over several years, and after about 3 years, the company I had worked for had started to downsize, and so it was one of those situations where I said, well, I've got so much freelance work going on, and I was kind of not too happy working down there. And I said, well, let me take some time off, and they had a good incentive package and time off and freelance work and see where it goes and figure it out from there. And it just worked out. I started picking up a lot more and doing a lot more track. And then, I'd always known the guys from Muscle Mustangs. I'm based in New York, and they were in North Jersey, which is about a half hour, 40 minutes from here. And, one day Campy started feeding me freelance work, and it just got to the point where he had an opening on staff, and I jumped on.
Awesome. It's always cool to hear how those stories come about and how you end up in, what is arguably one of the dream jobs for a Ford Mustang guy, actually any car guy, to be honest, regardless of what magazine it is. So, love hearing those stories. So you came on with Muscle Mustangs in, was it 03?
Yeah, May 2003.
Okay. What were you guys working on at that time?
Oh gosh. Well, that's a long time ago.
Yeah. Well,
2003 Terminator Cobra, I think, was when I started, it was really starting to ramp up that market. And I had known Richard Lells from Strictly Performance from the NMRA scene, and he jumped into that just with everything down there in Texas. So when I came in, it was a pretty sharp upswing in the Terminator stuff. And so we got into that pretty quickly, and that was kind of the start of it.
Right. So were you doing with Muscle Mustangs, were you doing more of the writing or the tech stuff, or what was your major role?
It was, there you're kind of a jack of all trades, but the way Jim Campzano had moved people in, you do a lot of writing and slowly trickle in on the tech side of things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a lot of feature stuff. Organizing the shootouts, that was always the new guy, his job. We had the track rented at Englishtown at least once a month.
Wow.
So we were always doing shootouts or testing something, and it was always the new guys, responsibility to keep that organized.
Right.
So, so I met a lot of great people in that first year just because the shootouts we'd have, 10 or 12 people show up, and it was a great opportunity to talk to a lot of great enthusiasts.
Right. I think it goes without saying that you guys probably appreciated being at the track a little more than in the office. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's highly accurate. Especially, everyone was into it, and it just was such a unique position for the magazines. I mean, magazines did track testing, but I kind of felt like Muscle Mustangs did differently because we were always at the track, always drag strip testing and validating and that side of it. So it was a very unique situation. We had a great deal with Englishtown at the time, and we traded advertising for track time, and it worked out really well.
Yep, and that's really cool because I remember reading the magazines. It's like every track test was there, like that. Pretty much became a household name, and it seemed like there was just a lot happening up in that area as far as the the late model Ford performance scene.
Oh yeah, no, it was right time, right place for all of us in the industry as well as the track and the shops. It just really worked very well.
Right. Did you have any favorite assignments or project cars during your time there?
Gosh, I did do some controversial topics like street racing, and probably one of the best times I ever had when we went to New York street racing scene, and Campy had hired a phenomenal photographer to shoot it, and I knew some guys, and we went out one night, and that was a blast to bring that to the broader market back in, I want to say it was 2004 or 2005, and we did one in New York and one in Houston, and that was good. It was great fun. It was different. It wasn't just a feature. It wasn't tech. It was the lifestyle of Mustangs. Like it or hate the street racing scene. It was fun to get involved in that and bring it to the masses.
Right. Yeah. It's obviously no one wants to advocate for street racing, but it's not like it's something that's going to go away. So.
Yeah. I mean that assignment was fun, and it was like, all right, well, this is going to be a hot button topic here, and it was, and we got a lot of hate mail over it, and it was a great experience, I think, from a journalist side of it, to be out there and great photography and just met some really interesting folks.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so was it 2009 or so? That's when you left Muscle Mustangs?
Yes, exactly. 2009, March 1st was the office in New Jersey was no more in Florida. And at the time I was getting married, and my wife has a really good job up here in New York. And we decided to stay back and, back into the freelance world.
Nice.
Did that still do it. I'm still technically a freelancer, but, came in full time with the NMRA series and race pages in October 2012.
Nice. So, obviously race pages is, it's somewhat similar to Muscle Mustangs, with a little more, basically 100% centered around drag racing. So how's everything going with race pages?
Oh, it's great. I've always been a drag race guy, and Muscle Mustangs was, you had to have a little bit of everything. And with race pages, it's great because everything's drag racing, and I'm just such a big drag race guy. It just fits perfect. So things are going well. We updated the magazine this past winter to a perfect bound side, the nice gloss paper, and really taking the photography to a higher level, which is always fun. And just appearance wise, it's greatly different.
Yeah, definitely. So as far as, coverage, obviously you're going to all the, to the NMRA events and stuff like that, but you guys do quite a bit of tech in that magazine too, don't you?
Yes. We have 6 races that we cover with NMRA. Obviously, we're the house magazine, so we do extensive coverage class by class. And so that leaves 6 issues a year where we don't have, event coverage in that kind of depth. So yeah, we do a lot of tech, how it relates to the drag racing, try and, street stuff. True Street's, our number one class. So we try to appeal to a wide audience, from the ultra hardcore 275 racer with turbos and blowers to a street guy with a little bit milder setup.
Right. And this was a question that I had, and it kind of sprang from, seeing it kind of started at the spring break shootout this year, with Coyote Stock, and I think Coyote Stock came about in 13. Is that right?
I believe so.
Right around 13.
Yep, 2013. Yes.
That class, has just absolutely exploded, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about, what the NMRA sees going forward, with things like that, because it's, it's kind of, just exploded into this huge thing, and it's even, bled over to factory stock. So, what is the NMRA's position? What do they see going forward?
It's a heads-up class, so it's not without its challenges, even though everyone does have the same engine combination. I mean, looking at it, it's phenomenal. It's about the racing and the fine-tuning of the car. It's not about chasing horsepower, which in this market, unlike an NHRA-style drag race or IHRA, those cars, it's always been, like a stock eliminator car. It's you're building a great car, and then, the horsepower is almost secondary because there's still a bracket race. Whereas this market's always been about building as much power as you can and then hoping to get it down the track. Where Coyote Stock is more now, the clutch and the suspension. So in that aspect of it, it's phenomenal. And the one thing that we've run into now is that the engine is based on the 2011 to 2014 engine, and they don't make that anymore. So
right.
So moving forward that's the challenge. Where is that headed? And there are several options that our tech guys are working with Ford Performance on a solution for that. That's, and ultimately it's what's fairest for the racers. Obviously there's some guys who don't mind stepping up. There's some guys who liked it because it is a cost contained. I'm not going to say it's cheap, but the costs are contained because you're not going to the dyno every year or buying the latest intake manifold or redoing a new set of heads every year. So, there's some balances that our guys are challenged with. Thankfully I'm on the magazine side and I get to watch it from afar and enjoy the wheel stands. But the racing is just absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. The driving, it's so centered around driving too. I think a lot of guys do forget that. Right. And I think we've got 7 or 8 former NMRA champions that are competing in there, and that's some stiff competition.
Yeah. So if you at the NMRA headquarters, have you guys kind of had a roundtable about, oh my God, we weren't expecting Coyote Stock to just totally explode like it has?
No, I don't think there was ever the doubt that it would. We were very fortunate at Ken Bajoni's from Palm Beach Dyno and Steve Gifford. They're the ones who had this idea and brought it to NMRA. And then, the concept is it just works. Mm-hmm. It works in circle track racing. It's not something new. It's been done before. So in that regards, you knew it had the right makings of it. There were a lot of it kind of around that time it came about. NMRA went through a series of changes, and it fit like the new type of NMRA drag racing, and excuse me, and it just worked, and we knew it would work. The concept is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. How do you see Coyote Stock affecting factory stock?
I think that's a hard one. We've seen some guys go back and forth between the two, and that's always it's always good. You like to retain your racers. Always give them a place to race. Ultimately that's what we're there for. We're there to give everybody an opportunity to race somehow, some way. That's what we do with the Grudge Night. If you don't fit one of our classes, then come race the Grudge Night. Come have fun with your muscle on the drag strip. So going back and forth between the two, we'd like to see both of them do very well and attract new racers. And we do have a lot of new racers. But, for factory stock, I think it gave it some new life, gave guys an opportunity to, I don't want to say dislike another combination, but get that competitive, rivalry going. Mm-hmm. I think that's really good. And as long as it's done healthy, but yeah, it works well. I think, give some guys, some guys don't want to have the service of the clutch or driving the clutch. I know we have one guy who's in Coyote stock a factory stock with a C4 because, he has a knee problem. Mm-hmm. So I think it gives an opportunity for people to get out there and race, and that's what we're there for.
Right. And the action's phenomenal. I think it's pretty safe to say that, the people that attend those, they attend them because they love that heads up style, drag racing, especially the stick shift cars. I mean, you love seeing people bang gears as opposed to just, hitting the trans brake and rolling out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like I said, we're there to have something for everyone. And if you prefer the C4 automatic style and tinkering with the engine too, factory stock allows you to tinker with it. Right. And it's not just a sealed engine. You can, go in there and do some tricks and tinker. And, today some people like to tinker and sit on the dyno and find power. Whereas others, I know Jacob Lamb, who I know you said is coming on the show eventually, mm-hmm. He said coming into Florida, he changed the oil, put in some new spark plugs, and went racing. So, you want to tinker and have some fun and find power, we got a class for you. If you, want that minimal maintenance, I'm not going to say there's none, but minimal maintenance, we got a class for you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool because the action just so far this year, I know Norwalk was kind of a bust because of the rain, but, like Drew and Carlos Sobrino and Jacob, I mean, they're just, they're all sitting there fighting, and it seems like they're getting faster every race.
Yeah, that was Maple Grove, not Norwalk. We were
Maple Grove, excuse me.
Yeah, and the weather was outstanding, and the more these guys learn, the clutch, the shocks, and what's great, it's not a traditional setup. I know some guys went to Mark Mencher's a phenomenal shock guy with, he works with AFCO products. And, I think he commented to one of the guys, he's not used to working with such a low horsepower. So it's fun because it's not just a mail order, buy the latest and greatest parts and throw it at it. It's unconventional in many respects. You're going low tens with a stock engine. Right. And you're doing it heads up, and and for some guys who are there for the money, you can go win. I think Jacob Lamb took home $4,100 or $4,300 the first two races. So wow, it's definitely an unconventional type of racing, but it's what NMRA was built on. I mean, if you look at a lot of the guys, the veterans that are in the class, Brandon Alsep, Darren Hendricks, Mike Washington. I mean, all those guys. I mean, I could sit here and name all of them. Mm-hmm. Carlos Sobrino. That's what NMRA was built on. A lot of those smaller, nitty gritty, read every single line of the rule book. And it's been fun to watch those guys go from basically street cars, in 1999, 2000, 2001 into what they're racing now. Right. So it's been fun.
Definitely legendary. So, going forward, in your professional opinion, are we going to see a 9-second pass in Coyote stock this year?
Whew, that's tough. I don't like to make predictions. It's very difficult. The weather will have to be there. Mm-hmm. I thought we would have been out of the cool weather when we left Atlanta, just the obscure weather there. But Maple Grove was better than out there. I think next month in Columbus we'll see. As it heats up, these guys will definitely fall off. I mean, that's just the way it works. But maybe Bowling Green. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, they went 10-13, and Drew went 10-13, 10-15, and Carlos 10-17. You're still a tenth and a half away. Right. Like you're not finding that power in 20, 30, 40 horsepower increments like you would in a factory stock or a pure streeter or something like that.
Sure. And I still don't think people have completely wrapped their heads around the fact that it is a bone stock motor. I mean, it is, but I that's huge to be running that fast with a completely 100% factory produced sealed engine. I mean, it's unreal.
Oh, it's truly amazing. I mean, you've got exhaust, cold air intake, in what is essentially a Ford Performance tune on VP Racing C10, and that's it. So it's amazing because I mean you've seen these guys do it before. We all have, but now they've got there's no weight breaks. There's no chasing a combination in the rule book where maybe this one's got an advantage over that. You can't point a finger anywhere and say, oh, well, yeah, he went faster because he's got that oddball combo that nobody built and the rules favored it.
Right.
It's almost like it's eliminated all those excuses.
So anyway, let's switch gears a little bit. You've actually got 2 Fox bodies right now in the garage. Talk a little bit about those.
Well, they're not in my garage, but well, the one I tend to just forget about. In fact, I think my wife has never even seen the one. The other is, according to the government, my brother owns it, but I've taken control of it. Always wanted a notchback, and he's been very busy with life, so I said, okay, I'm just going to take your car, and now it's mine.
Right.
So that one is up at Des Racing, and we've been using it on and off in the magazine. We did a Stoker engine in it, a 363 with, Edelbrock top end kit on it, and one of Mike's cams with a Pro Charger. And of course, the blower wasn't enough, so we threw on meth injection and nitrous, and makes 687 to the tire. So we're now that the weather's finally changed and my travel schedule's calmed down a bit, we'll hopefully get on track with it.
Nice. How quick are you hoping to have that out to the track?
I'm hoping within the next 2 or 3 weeks, or before Columbus anyway. My life revolves around my travel schedule
Sure.
for that sort of thing.
Sure. And the other car, the Mystery Machine.
The Mystery Machine. It's up at DMC Racing, and Dennis is very nice for storing it. Basically, it's a friend storage, but it's a stock suspension car with funny car cage and mini tubs and all that stuff, and just collects dust. So one of those. It was a project that was started and kind of stalled and kind of put on the back burner while just doing everything else.
Right.
Married, having kids, and I've got an '07 Mustang that I mess with also, and then work. So
right.
That's the day.
Yeah. I totally understand that. We've got, our 92 project car that, I was all fired up to get going on that. If I could ever get out from behind this laptop and in the garage, things would start happening. I get, requests daily, hey, when are we going to get some content on the project car? I'm like, well, you got to, let me get out from behind the computer first. Mm-hmm. But, so I definitely know how that feels. So as far as logistically, you're in New York, and the NMRA is based out of California. So how is that working?
With technology, it makes it a lot easier
right.
to have a virtual office. We have weekly meetings and with the editorial department, with the advertising staff and event staff and all that. So I mean. You have to be organized, but it works. I think the magazine business has changed quite a bit, and it's kind of scattered across the country. You kind of have to adapt to, where you can get people to fill positions, editorially. So, moving to California was never in the cards, and I think it's not for a lot of people. So, Steve Wolcott is, the owner of NMRA, is very flexible in that regard, and just virtually stay connected.
Right. Yeah, that's totally cool because I know you had some pretty strong roots up in the New York area. So it's awesome that you can make that happen, still do the job without having to leave your roots.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very fortunate and very thankful for that opportunity.
Definitely. All right, so I asked Steve on the last show, and I've got to ask you this question too. You got to tell us, give us a few of your very best stories from the magazine times. What's something you broke, a press car that you broke, or, thrashing all night to get a car ready for a test the next day. Just some of your favorite memories from your magazine days.
That's a tough one. There were a lot. I always joke that the office in New Jersey, where it was only over about 10 guys, and the receptionist up front. So it's always been like a frat house. It was phenomenal. It was like a working frat house. But gosh, best story. Probably the road trip that myself, Steve Bauer, and John Heddenberg took to Detroit to pick up the last 3 Mustangs in that generation before the 05 came out. We picked up 40th anniversary 2004 maroon car, 03 Cobra convertible, and a Mach 1. I think it was orange. And we flew into Detroit, picked them up at Ford, and then drove them back to New Jersey. That was fun. We had a good time. It was basically 2 days on the road with, 2 great guys and just nothing but laughing and racing across Ohio and Pennsylvania and get back to Jersey. So that was a great trip. I'll never forget. Like I said, a great time with great guys.
So how did you guys decide who got to drive the Terminator?
I think Bauer was a senior guy on that trip, so he got, I think, soaked up most of the time in the Terminator.
I was going to say, somebody's going to pull rank and say, okay, you're in the GT, I'm in the Terminator.
Yeah. No, you know what? No, let me correct. Steve took the Mach 1 and Heddenberg had the Terminator because John got busted on the Ohio Turnpike. Yeah. It took hours for us to convince John to kind of lay into this thing, and we'd come out of the toll booth or come back on the highway from a rest stop, and we'd just be jumping on these cars left and right. And Hindenburg was like a little apprehensive to do it at first, and the one time he does fly by, Steve and I had saw the police officer, and John didn't. So yeah, we thought it was a good time to take a break after you got that ticket.
Yeah, pull over, have some coffee, something.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of wrap up, I don't want to keep you too long today. As far as the, just keeping up with you and your work, where's a good place we can find you?
NMRAdigital.com. The magazine is on there. Sometimes I post stuff to my Facebook page, a personal one. But those are the spots to see where my work is, and most of it's with race pages. So it's on the website. You can get it. You can pick up race pages. I think it's 887 different locations. I think we're up to, and it's free if you go into the speed shop and it's sitting there on the counter, or you can check it out online.
Awesome. And if any of the listeners have not been to an NMRA event, you have to go. I mean, it'll only take one time, and you're totally hooked for life. Like I said earlier, I haven't missed the World Finals in 9, 12, 10, I don't know, several years.
Yeah, I mean, the finals is always, that's always a special one. I mean, it's the, what we like to say is, and I think it is, I can't think of anything else, it's the biggest Mustang drag race of the year.
Right.
And, we have combined with the show cars over 800 vehicles competing, between the show, True Street, and the drag race portion.
Yeah.
It's quite, if you like Mustangs, there's something definitely there for you.
Yeah. And it's cool because, when I first started going to them back in, I believe it was 03, if you've never been to Beach Bend, that's this long fenced country road with, like horse fields all around it. And, you could generally get up close enough you could hear the racing. And as time went on, we would get backed up all the way back to the railroad tracks by the traffic light.
That's always, you always hear it on the radio and in the race controls, just where the traffic point is in the morning, and it's like when it gets to the railroad tracks, you're like, okay, everyone brace for impact. This one's going to be a big one.
And it is. And I swear we left the hotel. We tried to get out of the hotel about 7 a.m. and get in line. But, one year we ended up a little late and just sat in that line forever. Of course, the clutch leg is just hollering at you and the temperature is starting to go up a little bit. And but
yeah, it's definitely a sight to see if you've never been there. Like you said, it's a beautiful road that's just it's backed up with nothing but Mustangs and trucks. for like probably 2 miles to the railroad track.
Yeah.
And every year we put more stubbers out there, more crowd control, so to speak, to try and eliminate that backup. It's just the volume is it's fantastic, and it's a great event to go to. It's such energy, such excitement, great on track action. Manufacturers Midway is always great, always smoking deals. I mean, it's everything about what you want an event to be when you're an enthusiast. It's there.
Right. And then last year, which was just absolutely unreal, Mike Murillo amboosted GT on property.
Yeah, that was a blast, man. Didn't work out as we wanted. We wanted a whole night for our grudge night, but it worked out well on Sunday. They made some passes. I know Boosted had a couple of money runs, and it worked despite the challenging weather conditions. And always have Mike Murillo on property. That's always a blast. I mean, he's just an icon in what we do, and to have him still around, hanging out and having fun is. It's great. Great for the scene, great for us, great for everyone. Yes,
definitely. And Mike, if you are listening, this is your open invitation again. We need you on the show, brother. One of these days I'm going to get him. KJ Jones introduced me to him last year, and so he's been dodging me for a year now, so I'm going to get
him. Mike will be at Bowling Green again this year, and let's try and lock him down and get on the show then out there.
Nice. Maybe we can just, put his arm behind his back and make it happen.
We'll tell him he can't make any runs on track unless he gets on the show, and then he'll be forced to because I don't think he can go to a drag strip without making a hit down it. So,
awesome, Mike. Again, privilege and an honor to have you on the show. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day to make this happen and share some awesome stories. And wish you the best of luck, and keep doing what you do at the NMRA.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me a call.
Anytime.
We'll definitely see you at Bowling Green this year.
Absolutely, you can bet on it. Thanks again, Mike.
All right, man. Have a great day.
Thanks again for listening to the Foxcast Podcast. We are everywhere. Stop by and check us out. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thefoxcast.com, and we will talk to you next time on the Foxcast Podcast.